Hello everyone, Jeff and Jay here with another edition of Jay's Big Adventure. Jay's the fuzzy one. And today we're going to start a video series on how to buy and sell cars and motorcycles. You can do this for fun, you can do this for profit, but there's a lot of information that I've gained over doing this over the last 40 years. I thought it'd be time for me to just share some of that information with you guys. So today's video is just going to be about how to get started. There are a lot of moving pieces that have to work, but let's just talk about how you get started in the first place. And the first part of this, of course, is going to be where are you going to get the money? If you want to start buying and selling cars and motorcycles, I would suggest start with something really cheap. If it's money that you can throw away and not have it be life-alteringly bad, that's a good thing. So something $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever your budget is, let's start there. And the easiest way to do this is to start with something that you know. I'm a huge BMW fan. I've bought and sold BMWs forever. I have started with a 1973 BMW 2002 in 1986. And that's what started my career. And I sold that, bought an 88 BMW M3, had a bunch of those, had a bunch of E28 M5s. So I'm a huge BMW guy. So that's where my expertise lies, and that allowed me to get started and minimize my chances of getting hurt on a car deal. There are a bunch of ways to get hurt on a car deal, and those are the things we're going to cover. If you're into Civics, if you're into luxury cars, if you're into muscle cars, I don't care what kind of car it is, when you start doing this for a business, it changes the way that you look at things. One of the most important parts is trying to get over what I like as an individual and looking at a car where there's potential to make money. Now, if you like that vehicle, you're going to be more passionate about it. It's way easier to sell. You know how to fix those sorts of things. So those things usually help. But don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. Again, I've been doing cars and motorcycles for a long time. Most of them have been BMWs, but when I got started doing motorcycles, I bought cheap stuff, and that is almost always Japanese. So I started riding in 1978, and so when I started riding, as I came up through the income brackets, I'd buy Hondas and Yamahas and occasional Suzuki and whatever I could get my hands on. But I'm a sport bike kind of guy or a naked bike kind of guy. I'm not a cruiser person. It's just not who I am. But on multiple occasions, I've run into a really cool cruiser bike that I bought and sold and made a lot of money on. If I'm looking at a mid-80s Suzuki or an early 80s Suzuki, I'd much rather have a GS 750E than a 750L, which is the cruiser type. And a Honda, if I'm looking at an early 80s Honda 750, I'd much rather have the Sabre than the Magna. But that's my personal preference for what I want to own if I'm going to keep it. If I'm just going to flip it for profit, now all of a sudden I don't care. When I do cars, because I am a driving instructor for BMW and Porsche and Ferrari during the summers, one of my main things is it has to have a manual transmission. And I do that for a couple of reasons. And this comes back to who I am as a person. Manual transmissions, if they drive properly during a test drive, the chances of you breaking a manual transmission while you own it are pretty slim. If you're looking at an inexpensive car with an automatic transmission, by definition that means it's going to be old and it's going to have a lot of miles on it. And automatic transmissions at high mileages they're time bombs, they're grenades. It's going to go off, it is just a matter of time. And the problem is, unless you know a lot about that particular car's maintenance history and you know that the transmission fluid has been changed, it can go at any point. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. If I want to buy something cheap and then I take it to Park City to show to somebody, going up that hill where the transmission is working hard and the engine is working hard, that's where you can get into trouble because I'm stressing the car relatively hard on my daily driving. If you live in central Illinois or Indiana where it's flat, you can get away with stuff that you can't get away with in the mountains. A lot smaller chance of you getting hurt by buying something that is that's going to break on you or has a lot more trouble than you expected. A couple things to look for is who is your market and how many other cars are there like yours for sale. One of the reasons that I go with a manual transmission is because it is a significantly smaller market. Now, there are a lot fewer people looking for manual transmissions these days, but because the cars are so much harder to find, I found that if I advertise a manual transmission car or pickup, I can ask significantly more for it than book value because they're hard to find. If you buy a mid-90s Accord and there's 500 of them for sale in the local newspaper, it's going to be harder to get people to come to look at your Honda Accord as opposed to one of the other 500 that are for sale. So those are the sorts of things that you have to look at. The other thing to look at is there something special about this car? Is it a special model? Is it a special year? Does it have something that makes it unique, that makes it more valuable when you go to sell the vehicle? We're going to talk more about how to advertise later. But for starters, you want to look for that car that is unique, that will make it easy to sell, and then you get to find out whether you can buy it for a low enough price to be able to resell it and make money.